Hey everybody, this is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World Electronics. I got my little Cybertron PC mini server back. I had it over to a place where there's high-speed internet for a while, and I downloaded the DIY Tube video thumbnails folder, which was over 50 gigabytes of thumbnails. Now that tells you we got some serious amount of videos going on. Back here at the homestead, I've got the computer opened up. I'm running Linux Mint on this, and I happen to have a 500 gig hard drive, and that's why I used it the other day. And actually that was a week ago. But anyway, I ran out of USB ports on the front, and there's one inside, so I put an external hard drive on there, and I'm copying over my video thumbnails folder. Over 50 gigs of thumbnails. And then I'm going to experiment. I am going to pop in one of the original SSDs, the solid state drives that came with this. There were two, as well as the 500 gig hard drive. And I'm going to put Windows on it. I'm going to put Windows 10 because that's what I happen to have, although I detest Windows 10. It is what I have at the time, and I'm going to put Windows on it and see if I can get it to run on that. And later I want to switch that over to maybe Windows 7 or 8 even, to have a stable version of Windows so that I can run programs that I need based on what I'm doing at the time. This little server is going to be very useful to me as a workstation / terminal connecting to all the servers on the network. So that's why I'm going to have two operating systems, two hard drives. I like Linux Mint for it. It's working out well, and I've got it running here. I'm copying my files over, and it says it's going to take about an hour and a half to finish the job over USB. It's an older computer, so it's probably USB 2. So it's not as fast as it could be. The network on this is only 100 meg as well. It's not a gig. And there's the two network cards. So it's older. It's not meant to be an actual hardcore server, but it's a great little workstation to access, or terminal, whatever you want to call it, to access your other servers. I call it a workstation more because I do work on it, but it's also a terminal to access all of these guys remotely, which is great. And that's what it's going to be used for. So I love the little thing. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little power motherboard. And you can see it's really tiny. I love it. So I don't know what the power consumption is, but I do want to get a meter hooked up to this and see, because I'm figuring the only noisy thing on that is the fan. It's probably using more than the motherboard. It's loud and powerful. So that'd be cool to get this going. I don't know what do we got for power supply on here. 200 watt power supply. So definitely it's using less than that. I'm sure it's way less. I would guess 40-60 watts maybe equivalent to a laptop. That's an Atom processor. Anyway, I'm gonna let this run, and then I'll get Windows on it, and it will have a dual boot system. So I'll be able to go into BIOS. When I boot up, I'll be able to open up the BIOS and set my boot priority based on what I want to load at the time. So I'm working on servers all the time now. I'm having a blast here at the homestead. Well, my back heals anyway. Injured my back 2 weeks ago, and there's snow on the ground anyway, and this keeps me going. So I popped in a SSD, and I had to unplug the Western Digital hard drive because I don't know why I couldn't get into BIOS and set the boot priority. I have my little Windows 10 boot USB stick right there in the motherboard. There's only 3 ports on this. I've got the 2 front ones for the mouse and keyboard, and so I'm booting from the middle one, and it's working. So once I removed the 1 hard drive, then there was nothing to boot from, and then I could get into BIOS and set up the USB to boot from. And I'm installing Windows 10 Pro from a USB stick on a very, very tiny computer. Well, you can see the size of that motherboard with that USB stick in there. That is a really tiny computer. And so far it's installing. I don't know how well it's going to run on this little guy, but we'll find out in a little bit. It's 48% done installing Windows 10 Pro. Now actually it's going pretty quick. I've had old Windows XP generations of computers running Windows 10 Pro for my mining rigs on 1 gig of RAM. It took an 80 gig hard drive. It took 10 minutes to boot, and I would literally leave the room and come back later. And any drivers I installed was horrendous. It took 10, 20, 30 minutes to install drivers, but it worked. And once it booted up, it ran. I was able to mine, because mining is all graphic card intensive, so you don't really need any high-end processor or anything else for that. And they ran. But unfortunately, Windows 10 destroyed all my hard drives because it was constantly using the hard drive as a swap file and just tore them up. So that is the only flaw with running Windows 10 on a tiny little old computer with a small hard drive and not much RAM. That was the only problem. Probably if I had a lot more RAM, I wouldn't have had an issue, but those old computers didn't take much RAM. They didn't have the capacity. So, but it worked. Experiment success. So this will probably run. Just as a reminder for some of you, it's an Atom 1.8 gigahertz, 4 core, two physical cores with 4 threads, processor, and 2 gigs of RAM. So it's nothing super spectacular. And limitation of 2 gigs of RAM. I'm probably going to get another RAM in there, another RAM stick, and double it, because it has a 4 gig capacity on this little computer, and that'll help. But we'll see what happens. I'll be back in a little bit once it's up. Well, I got Windows running, and I can browse the internet. It's not fast. It's probably because I only have 2 gigs of RAM, but oh, there it goes. Whoops. I hit the home again. It takes a few seconds to load a page, but it's, I mean, it works. It definitely is working. So, but looking good so far. I deleted all the excess baggage and games and junk that I don't want, and I disabled all the updates and everything, because on my home network, my home internet is really slow, and so I don't want it to slow me down. But there's my little guy running. So that's it for now. Windows 10 does run on this tiny little Cybertron PC with 2 gigs of RAM. And it's not super fast, and don't expect to play videos, but this was never meant to do that. There you go, guys. Another success. So now I've got Linux and Windows on here, so no matter what programs I need, I still call them programs, I guess I'm old. No matter what programs I need, I've got them, or I can use them. Well, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more exciting videos on computers and servers and electronics and alternate energy. This is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World Electronics. Talk to you later.